We're going to answer the question, am I going through the tribulation? And if so, how do I prepare for it? You don't want to miss it. Next.
The program you are about to watch is part of a free series we are making available to you as a gift from Greg Fritz Ministries, entitled 7 Undeniable End Time Events. Visit gregfritz.org to download the MP3s and watch the streaming video for free by entering code FREE at checkout. Are you tired of hearing bad news? Tune into the good news of the gospel. Welcome to Good News with Greg Fritz.
Hello, I'm Greg Fritz. Welcome to the Good News program. We're continuing our series on 7 undeniable end-time events. And I've got study notes that cover all 7 events very thoroughly. You'll want to get this and put it in your library. You can download it from our website right now, instantly, and follow along, or we'll mail you a copy if you call the helpline and ask for it. But these events are very interesting, and we've made it now to the tribulation, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to go through it and look at some of the events in the tribulation. We're going to look at some of the personalities in the tribulation. We're going to answer the question, are we going through it, and how do we prepare for it? And I'll do that right up front here, but I also want to mention this. You can get all 20 of these episodes on this series. We're going to do 20 episodes. They go right along with the study notes. These are in video and audio, and you can get that on a USB stick, a memory stick. We'll send that to you. Or you can stream them from our website. Go to the free download section of the website and you can stream the videos or download the audio if you'd like the audio version of this teaching. And if any of that's confusing, just call the helpline and they'll explain it to you. And you can get all of this teaching. And I believe that it would be good for you to have this so that you can recognize things in the news as nations line up, as things begin to get more and more in order for these end time events to occur one after the other. And it will be a domino effect as one event leads to another. And I've given you the order that I believe they're in. We'll put that on the screen. First of all, there's the Ezekiel 38 war, Russia and others invading Israel. God will defend Israel. Then the rapture of the church. Then the Great Tribulation, which we're in now. We're going to talk about, we're not in it yet, but we're going to talk about it. Some people probably think they're already in the tribulation, but they're not. And then number 4, the second coming of the Lord, and which includes the Battle of Armageddon. And then the millennium, the millennial kingdom, 1,000-year rule and reign. And then the great white throne judgment. And number 7, the new heavens and the new earth. So all of these things are in our future. All end-time prophecy teachers agree, nearly all of them, that these things will happen or are happening, and they just disagree on the order, the timing. And so I think it doesn't take anything away from end-time teaching to teach these events as separate events, let people put them in the order they choose. Now, as far as who's going to go through the tribulation, we spent a lot of time talking about this when we were in our rapture section teaching, which was just before this. And I believe that the church is going to be raptured before the tribulation. I don't believe that the tribulation is designed for the church, so we will not. If you're born again, if you believe that Jesus is the Son of God and you've accepted Him as Lord, you will not go through the tribulation, not even half of the tribulation. You say, well, what if you're wrong? Oh, I'll change number 3 to number 4. That's all I got to do. I don't have a whole lot to change. I just change the order and then you just keep going. I just don't see that in Scripture. I gave you several reasons that I believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. That's in the study notes, or it's in the teaching if you'd like to get it. If you are going through the tribulation, let me just say this. The question was, are we going through it, and what do we do to prepare for it? I don't believe we're going through it. If you are going through it, there's nothing you can do to prepare. You don't have to do a thing. Just go into it. I don't think you can get ready for an Antichrist. How are you going to do that? Dress up? I mean, there's really nothing that you need to do if you're going through the tribulation, if you want to go through the tribulation, if you believe you're going through I don't believe there's anything you can do to prepare for that. Now, I'm probably going to get some hate mail for saying that, and sincerely, I appreciate your mail. As a media personality, I don't get much feedback. I'll just be honest with you. I do this for hours and hours. Nobody says anything. Sometimes my TV guy goes to sleep, and I can hear that, but really I get very little. And so I can't tell you how much it means to me that you care enough about what I said to hate me. I mean, that is a compliment in and of itself, that you would care enough about what I said on this program to hate it. I mean that's a win-win, because you get to hate and I get to be I get to be noticed. So there you go. I don't believe we're going through the tribulation, and if we are, and you're buying dried food, I don't see how that's going. I just don't see how that's going to make it. I don't mind having some reserves. If the power goes out, but to make a 7-year tribulation, can I just say it this way? If all these tribulators are true and we're all going to go through the tribulation, you better have faith in God, and not faith in your food storage bank. Faith in God. Whatever we do in the days to come, we're going to have to trust the Lord. I believe we're going to be raptured before the tribulation. If I'm right, what am I going to do from now till then? I'm going to have faith in God. I'm going to believe God every day. I'm going to believe God that I fulfill my destiny. You and I were born for a purpose. We were born, we were supposed to be, we're not accidents. God has a plan for us. He has a call. He has something for us to accomplish in our life. And I want to believe God that that's going to happen. And it's not going to be cut short by a meteorite from heaven, by a terrorist bullet, or a tribulation and an antichrist. I just don't believe that those things can stop us from fulfilling our destiny. So whatever the future holds as far as how these end time events play out, our destiny is secure. And I just want to make that clear. Again, I believe the tribulation is the wrath and the judgment of God, that the church really doesn't have a place in that. In fact, if you read the book of Revelation, the church is mentioned in Revelation 1, 2, and 3, but after that, the church is not mentioned. When all of the fireworks start, there's no mention of the church. And that's very unusual in the New Testament if you think about it. Throughout the New Testament, starting in Matthew, it's all about the church, and upon this rock I'll build my church, and Paul's epistles and John's epistles and all of the teaching and Revelation, right up to Revelation 3, it's all about the church. Remember, Jesus addressed the 7 churches in the first few chapters of Revelation. All of a sudden, there's no mention of the church. What happened? Rapture. We were brought out. Then all these judgments start to fall, and all this stuff starts to happen, and the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, and there's no mention of the church. I believe it's because we were raptured. Now, there will be people saved during the tribulation time. God's just that merciful that He's going to allow people to turn to Him. There will be 144,000 Jewish evangelists that will be preaching the gospel. Angels will preach the gospel. So there's going to be a harvest of souls in the tribulation. And so they will be here, but I believe that we will have been raptured out. We're a very unique part of God's history. We are the church of the Lord Jesus Christ that came to be during the dispensation of grace, which is a very definite dispensation that started at the resurrection of Jesus and it ends at the rapture of the church. Whenever that is, that's when it ends. And so I believe it ends at the beginning before the tribulation, because that's 7 years that God is again dealing with Israel, not the Gentile church, but Israel and heathen. And so I don't believe we're going to go through that. So now, let me give you some facts. We're going to get into the tribulation. I don't want to take too many episodes on this, but if you are looking for blood and gore and all those things, you're really going to like the next few episodes. It's PG-13 plus. It's the things that happen on the earth. Let me just give you this comment. No one living on the face of the earth will fail to recognize something's going on. It's really the mercy of God in demonstration, desperately trying to reach hard-headed people so they don't spend eternity in hell. That's a quote from Joseph Morris in his book, End Times Made Easy. A description of the tribulation is this: according to the Bible, there's coming a calamity unlike any the world has ever seen. Although this future period will be rather short, 7 years, it will destroy more lives than all previous catastrophes combined. Nearly 1 billion people will be struck down by this coming disaster. This came from the book, The King is Coming, by Dr. H.L. Wilmington. And I get a lot of my facts and figures and scriptures from that book. It's a very good book. I'm not sure you can even get it now. But I've done all the work. Listen, I have taken lots of resources and I've pulled all this together to separate it into 7 events, end-time events, and I've put them in order and I've got it all outlined. So if you'd like this information, get the study notes. Everyone should have, I think every believer at this point in history should have these study notes in their library, because really I don't have an agenda, and anyone can use them especially if they're willing to take these events and put them in the order of their choosing. It'll fit into anyone's doctrine. The names that are given to the tribulation are this. It's so important that God's talked about it throughout Scripture. The day of God's vengeance, the time of Jacob's trouble, Daniel's 70th week, which we talked about a little in the last episode, the time of the end, the great day of His wrath, the hour of His judgment. And there are scriptures to go along with those different names if you go to the study notes. And the descriptions of the tribulation are listed in Isaiah 13, Isaiah 2, Isaiah 34, Jeremiah 25, Zephaniah 1, Matthew 24, Matthew 11 and 12, Matthew 21 and 22, Luke 21, 1 Thessalonians 5, and Revelation 6, 12 through 17. They all talk about the tribulation period. Now, I covered Daniel's 70th week, but to me this helps make prophecy make sense. And I want to go through this again slowly, because really Daniel talked a lot about the times of the end. We have that record. The angel came to him to give him insight into things that we are about to live through. And so in Daniel 9:24, I want to make this as simple as I can, and then you'll have to get the study notes to have this laid out. But it's very insightful. Here's what it says. Daniel 9:24 says, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make a reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So what he's saying is there's 70 weeks left to complete the work of God with the holy city, the holy people, the Jews. So he's saying, I'm going to deal with the Jews for 490 more years. 70 weeks, 70 times 7 is 490. He's talking here about years. So get that picture. Way back in the days of Daniel, the angel said, I'm going to deal with Israel for 490 more years. Then he splits the 490 years up into 69 weeks and 1 week. In other words, most of it, the majority of it, is going to be done consecutively. Then there's going to be another week. So 483 years occurred consecutively. Then there was a pause. And that final week, that final 69 weeks have been run out. There's still a week left. Daniel's 70th week. We're saying that is the tribulation. That is a time when God is once again going to renew His relationship with Israel. We believe that it's going to occur because of the Ezekiel 38 war, when God defends Israel from Russia, Iran, and Turkey as they attack. It's going to renew their covenant, and it's going to initiate this last 7-year period where God deals with Israel, not the church, but with Israel. the Great Tribulation, as you watch these things unfold, God is really dealing with Israel. The 144,000 evangelists that cover the earth during that tribulation period, they're all Jews. So Daniel's 77s, 490 years, is the consummation of God's planned purpose with Israel. He's showing us the rest of the history of Israel. So the beginning of the 70 weeks was with Artaxerxes. He was a king who gave the command to Nehemiah to go rebuild the wall. That happened in 445 BC. So from that time, if you go forward 483 years or 69 weeks, we come up to the day of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. So they're saying 483 years have already been expired. And then we know what happened. Jesus was raised from the dead, and the church was birthed, and we've been in a dispensation of grace and the New Testament church ever since. Well, there's still a week. He still owes a week, the 7 years, to Israel. And it says the Messiah will be cut off. If you count forward 483 years on the biblical calendar, you come to AD 32, the day Jesus made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. So there's still 7 years that God owes Israel, which will be the Great Tribulation. Now, the purpose of this tribulation period is more than one. It's manifold. It is to harvest, to bring in a harvest of souls. There will be people scared into the kingdom because of the events of the tribulation. You know, the people who say, you know, I know you're right. I know I should get right with God. I'm just not ready yet. At some point, there's going to be a rapture. And I mean, it's hard to really describe the event of the rapture, but there's going to be millions of people that will just be caught up. They'll be taken out of the world. We're going to meet Jesus in the air. And there will be people that are left that didn't get raptured. They're going to have to deal with this reality. And immediately after the rapture, if you believe the order of events like I do, is going to be the tribulation. So then all these fireworks are going to start, and people are going to say, man, I should have gone to church. I should have gotten right with God. And they are going to get right with Him. Thank God for His mercy that He can use even these drastic measures to get people to accept Jesus and be saved. So the tribulation is going to bring in a harvest. It's going to prove the falseness of the enemy. It's going to prove what an inept leader he is. Now history itself is proving something. History is proving that no earthly civilization is fit to rule the world. And how are they proving that? Because they've all failed. I mean, there's not one ancient civilization that endured the test of time. The Romans lasted 1,000 years. That's a long run, but they're gone. Why? Because their government was not fit to rule the world. Every form of government is going to be seen to be as a failure. Then Satan himself is going to take over the world. It'll get so bad, they'll be so desperate, they'll say, you run it. And he'll only spend 7 years to prove that he's a failure. So that when Jesus does come back, He will be the rightful ruler of the planet with no accusers. No generation, no government, no king will be able to say, hey, I could have done that. Nope, no, you proved that you couldn't do it. Everyone, every form of government, every civilization has proven they can't do this. So the Antichrist, Satan himself, is going to prove that he can't do it either. During the tribulation, he'll be proven to be a failure. The tribulation will prepare a martyred multitude for heaven. Yeah, there will be people martyred in the tribulation. They'll be killed for their faith. It's going to be a time where Gentiles are going to be punished for their sins. So it was also used to purge Israel. And there'll be a lot of things that Israel, I'm sure, will see and understand and realize at that moment in history that will occur because of and during the tribulation. Now, let's look at this and then we'll move on to some personalities in the tribulation. I'm sure you're interested in that, the personalities of the tribulation. But now notice this, in the book of Revelation, chapters 1 to 3 are about the church. It's mentioned 17 times. We believe that the rapture takes place sometime in chapter 4, and from then on, the church is not mentioned because we are no longer here. So that makes sense. It fits in with the pre-tribulation rapture thinking. Now again, I am not going to be dogmatic about this. If you don't see it that way, I totally understand that. There are people that I love and respect that don't see it this way. Doesn't make them any less spiritual. It doesn't make them any better or worse. We just see it different ways. I actually understand why some people interpret it differently. They have their scriptures, they have their reasons. On this program, I'm going to give you my scriptures and my reasons. But as I said before, this entire teaching is set up so that you can take these individual events and change the order to suit the way you see and believe it. We're not compromising here. I'm just not going to be dogmatic. Here's why. The scribes and Pharisees in Jesus' day had one job, and that was to read the Bible and understand the coming of the Messiah. They were supposed to see Him when He came. That was the biggest event in their life, was to receive their Messiah. Their Bible, the Old Testament, was filled with prophetic promises, messianic promises. They were aware of them. They were experts. They knew exactly which scriptures, many of the scriptures that applied to the Messiah. And when He came, they missed Him. They killed Him. Not only did they misidentify Him, they killed Him. So their prophecy, though they were sincere and they were well studied, they were very strict, very dogmatic, and because of that, they missed the object of the prophecies. Now, the people who received Jesus were the fishermen, the ordinary folks, people who didn't have all these dogmatic, preconceived ideas. So I'm just saying, when it comes to end times, these things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. We can't change that. We're not going to influence it. We're not going to speed it up or slow it down. This is already established. So our interpretation of it can be off, and it's not going to affect our life. It's not going to affect our service for God. It's not going to affect our destiny. So I'm fine in this sense. I would never compromise on the gospel of Jesus Christ, on the doctrines of the Bible, on the veracity of the Word of God. There's things that I would never compromise on. But when it comes to end time events, I'm perfectly fine if you rearrange them and get them in the order that you feel or believe that they are going to come. I don't believe the church. I believe the church is raptured. This was really a quote from Joe Morris's book, End Times Made Easy. I agree with him that the church is dealt with in Revelation 1, 2, and 3, and then Revelation 4, the church is raptured and it's never mentioned again until the new heavens and the new earth. So, this 7 years, this great tribulation is divided into two parts. In the middle of the 3.5 years, it says He will bring an end to sacrifice and offering. That's the Antichrist. So at the beginning of the 7-year period, probably right after the Ezekiel 38 war, the Antichrist is going to rise to power, and he's going to make a treaty with Israel. He's going to offer the whole world peace, and Israel's going to believe it, and they're going to sign this treaty with the Antichrist for 7 years. At the middle, 3.5 years, he's going to break his treaty. Israel's going to have the temple. They're going to be doing sacrifices, and the Antichrist is going to act like he's all for it. He's okay with it. Then he's going to stop it, desecrate it. It's going to be the abomination of desolation. It's going to be awful, and he's going to then bring about all kinds of plagues and signs and wonders and judgments on the earth. So the tribulation begins with a covenant that the Antichrist makes with the world and with Israel. During the last 7 years, God's judgments will be poured out on the earth in the form of seals, trumpets, and vials. And we're going to cover those. They're in the study notes. We're going to cover those what those are and what the results of those. I'm not going to go into great detail, but we're definitely going to give you a working knowledge of the seals, the trumpets, and the vials, and what that means to the planet. Some of the things are allegory, some of these things are literal, and I don't know which is which. All I know is it's going to be drastic, it's going to be violent, it's going to be worldwide, it's going to be catastrophic, and by the time it's over, the whole world's going to know there's a God in heaven. And that's part of the purpose of the Great Tribulation. Let me give you these personalities, and we'll go more into detail in the next episode. But the personalities would be Satan, or the dragon, the Antichrist, or the beast. And by the way, I know who the Antichrist is, and I have his number. The Antichrist is the beast, and his number is 666, in case you want to text him. I'm sure he'd be glad to hear from you. And then there's the false prophet, and then there's the whore of Babylon, and then there's Babylon herself. The whore of Babylon is false religion, or the bloody harlot is false religion, the false church, which are all going to combine. The Antichrist is going to literally promote a false religion as all religions combine, and then he's going to destroy it. The bloody harlot is going to be killed, and the Antichrist himself is going to be worshipped. He wants it all for himself. So that's going to happen. And then the whole world system is called Babylon. That's going to be destroyed. And in the process, there's going to be two witnesses that will witness to the truth. They'll be hated and killed and then resurrected. There's 144,000 evangelists that will preach to the Jews. Then we go to the seals, the trumpets, and the vials. And so we got a lot to cover. And if you want to have this in order in your own notes, just get the study notes. It's all there. And I did a lot of work to get this organized the way it is, and I think it would be a blessing to you. Well, we've run out of time today. Be sure and take advantage of our free stuff. Get the USB with all this teaching on it if you'd like. We'd love to hear from you today. Until next time, remember this: the good news is so good, the bad news doesn't matter.
End-time teaching has always been controversial. In this series, you'll learn the 7 end-time events that will happen according to Scripture, and why for Christians, the good news just keeps getting better. Call our helpline at 918-749-7744 Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time.
I just received this note from some viewers out there on YouTube. They said, "Thank you so much for the YouTube videos you post. I've recently discovered them," and that's what's happening. People are discovering us for the first time all over the world. My husband and I have been watching the series on healing. It's awesome and so encouraging, easy to understand, very straightforward. Well, I thank you for that. This is from Paula and David. There are many, many other responses that we've gotten like that around the world. In fact, in the last 30 days, we've had visitors to our website from 50 states and 100 countries. So we're getting it out there. We're getting the message out. We could use your help. If you'd like to partner with me, please call the number on the screen or give in one of these methods of giving. We'd love to hear from you today and continue to create good news programs and send them out around the world.
Are you tired of hearing bad news? Partner with us to tell the world about the good news of Jesus Christ. Learn more at gregfritz.org.